Today is day 20 of former President Donald Trump's criminal trial in New York. Here he is speaking out before court started. His lawyers rested their case today, which means this could go to jury as early as next week. And it's not clear that Trump will not be testifying in his own defense. So we will have to wait and see. Meantime, all the way across the pond in Cannes, people are talking about Trump, but for a different reason. So the original film, or the origin film rather, The Apprentice, starring Sebastian Stan as a young Donald Trump, premiered last night. Here's Cate Blanchett giving him a hug and a kiss following the premiere. And the film got at least an 8-minute standing ovation. But the film includes some very controversial scenes, including one where Trump rapes his ex-wife Ivana. The Trump campaign is not at all happy about this. In fact, they said that they are planning on suing. They released a statement saying, quote, "This garbage is pure fiction which sensationalizes lies that have long been debunked." Now, meantime, the filmmaker was asked about being sued. Here's what he said about that.
Everybody talks about him suing a lot of people. They don't talk about his success rate, though, you know. I don't necessarily think that this is a movie that, you know, he would dislike. I don't necessarily think he would like it. I think that I think he would be surprised, you know. And you know, like I said before, like I would be happy. I would offer him to go and meet him wherever he wants and talk about the context of the movie, have a screening and have a chat afterwards.
Speaking of context, Tori, there's some additional information.
Yeah. So I don't think Trump would want to meet with him because Trump likes to be seen in a good image. The film depicts him popping amphetamine pills, getting liposuction, getting a surgery to remove a bald spot. It also does deal with a somewhat, I would think, or have heard, ambiguous rape scene. And I want to talk about that clearly. In 1990, during their divorce, Ivana did allege that Trump raped her. Okay, but in 1993, she took that back somewhat and said he did do something with her. She felt violated but took it back. In 2015, she really took it back right before he ran. So it's a little gray. It's a little confusing. I think if they go to trial, a lot's going to come out that Mr. Trump probably won't want to have in the air during the election season. So my thing is that he hopes this gets buried and no one sees this arty film. I think it's going to do very well. I think it's going to tell us the story of Roy Cohn, whom, if you don't know, is the architecture of Trump's build. He's played by Jeremy Strong. If you didn't know, that's Kendall Roy, who he played in Succession. So I think it's interesting to see the rise of an early Donald Trump and how it led to the presidency.
Well, it also will show like the rise of us. Like movies, I think in a lot of ways are direct reflections of if they're done well, what was going on at that time period. And we're going to look at this through 2024 lenses, but to look at New York in the 1980s, cocaine, amphetamine, speed was par for the course. That was part of the culture. Wall Street, Studio 54, sports, regular folks going out. That was a quite regular thing. And when you look at somebody like Trump, the idea of him getting liposuction, which was big at that time, any kind of scalp enhancement, which was big at that time, that's not going to be that crazy, especially if we're looking at it through 2024 lenses. I am very curious to see New York City as the star of this movie, to see like what New York City was, which was obviously a lot more crime, a lot more sex and vice, and how that produced our president eventually, and what we had to do with it, and what our culture has evolved into. So I'm interested to look at it in that lens.
Yeah, I was just looking at young Trump, and Sebastian Stan's playing him, who also played Tommy Lee in the Pamela and Tommy Lee. But have you guys seen Barron Trump lately?
He looks a lot like
he looks a lot like. Yeah, doesn't it? I mean, I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah,
I just recently saw a picture
of him. He's tall too,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
very 6'6" or something.
Yeah,
he should play young Trump.
Totally agree. I don't think Melania.
No, I don't think they'd approve that. But I do want to go back. You said about burying the story, and I do think something's interesting. They're holding this case off to go to jury for 7 or 8 days. It's not till next Tuesday. Do you think they're doing that on purpose so it doesn't fall through the news cycle, regardless of whether he's found guilty or not?
I think it's Memorial Day.
But do you think if they would have gone to jury, he gets his verdict, then Memorial Day comes, and that story's kind of buried?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Here's what I hope, that the judge doesn't care about the press cycle and the news cycle, and I hope that they're following the Memorial Day, whatever.
Then why the pause?
I wonder if it's to get more discovery. I don't know. But I do think
they already rest their case. It's
agreed. But I think everything with Trump is like, what is the timing here? And is this a pile-on with like Hollywood? I feel like people think with the trial is unnecessary, some of the charges or indictments are unnecessary, and that now this movie, are we piling on to Trump and he will come out looking a bit like a victim or like a martyr?
I think it could go either way.
Right.
It could be people are like, okay, enough of this. This feels like a witch hunt. Or it could be because we're such visual learners. If we see, I mean, Baby Reindeer took off that show on Netflix because it was a true story or based on a true story. But there is one episode in particular where it's quite graphic with a rape scene.
Yeah.
And I think that really moves people.
Yeah.
And I think if people can see Donald Trump in that scene through the actor Sebastian Stan, it might change people's opinion on him. And I do want to correct, it is clear he will not be testifying going back to the trial.
Yeah.
So
I'll just say I don't think anything can change the way people feel about Donald Trump. Anything that would have
on the
done
fence,
it by
female
now.
voters might listen to Sam.
I don't
on
know.
the fence, independent female voters might not like seeing that.
Depending on how graphic that scene is.
Yeah.
I think it could definitely change people who are in the middle, 1,000%.
Absolutely.